My name is Cassie and I have IgA Nephropathy. I have bum kidneys. It's a rare autoimmune disorder that affects the kidneys if I'm being serious about it. It took about 4 to 5 years for me to get diagnosed. I originally went to the hospital because I couldn't breathe. I felt like I couldn't catch a breath. And I came to learn that my blood pressure was high, although because I was a young woman who was perceived as fairly healthy, it was kind of brushed off as anxiety. And that happened multiple times over the course of a few years. It was kind of just going to the ER. My blood pressure would be 180 over 120, and I would be told, like, go home, you have anxiety. So I ended up meeting a newer doctor, and she went and looked at my previous labs and saw that my certain markers in my blood work were showing signs of potential kidney disease. The funny thing about the markers is they can be brushed off as just being dehydrated, things like that, but because they had been showing consistently a certain way over a few years, she was the one that was really like, maybe it is more than just you getting headaches, you having high blood pressure, and the journey kind of went on from there to getting diagnosed with IgAN. Medical gaslighting is definitely a thing, definitely something that I experienced. I do think that it happens to women a lot. I think a part of that is because women are not necessarily studied as much as men are in the medical space. And it's funny that you asked that because the doctor who actually brought me to the process of getting a biopsy and being diagnosed was the first woman doctor that I had worked with in the entire 5 years. It is frustrating being 30 and having to take multiple medications. I never really pictured that for myself. I'm somebody that didn't even want to take Tylenol when I had a headache. So that's different, having to keep track of that. Going out to eat with my family, that's different now because if I have something that say is super high in sodium, even if I tried to like save my sodium for the day, it affects me physically where I might get a spike in blood pressure and I might feel a little bit winded or out of breath. Mentally, I would say that there is a little bit of fear. And a big part of that is because I'm 30, I'm married, I want to have a family, and knowing that because of the kidney disease and the IgAN, I'm at a higher risk pregnancy for like in my future, that is frustrating because I just don't know what that's gonna look like. Knowing that I could potentially need dialysis or a kidney transplant is a little bit confusing and scary because not only is that a process that I already know will be difficult, but I don't really know what that would look like when it comes to juggling what I do for work and just juggling everything I do in life. Knowing that there's certain ways you can eat, certain things that you can take, and certain lifestyle choices, that makes me feel hopeful. Moving my body has been really big for me. I recently started powerlifting, but even prior to that, just going for walks outside to clear my head or weightlifting just to kind of get the bad energy out of your body. I feel like it's been really good for my mental health and just my general happiness. I love cooking too, so cooking for my family, my husband and my stepdaughter. Unless you really truly know the person in your life that has it, no one could ever really understand it because of it being invisible. It really doesn't show in any way at all. I think that with any disease or disorder that you can't see, people tend to think that maybe you're not being honest about it, and that can be frustrating. It's important to be informed, but the more time you spend in your head and the more time you spend thinking about the fact that you feel down about having a disease, I think the more that it will consume you beyond what it would have otherwise. So I think just staying positive and listening to your practitioners that you trust can really keep you from slipping into a darker place, because I do think that it can be easy to slip into a darker place when you have been diagnosed with something like this. I don't like having a victim mentality. I like feeling like I can acknowledge, okay, something bad happened or something scary happened or something sad happened, and it's okay to acknowledge it and it's okay to sit with it for a moment, but I don't want to be somebody who's defined by my negative experiences. I just decided that I'm somebody that likes to be in a positive headspace, and I didn't want to be somebody who was defined by something bad that happened to me, whether it's IgAN or anything else. The biggest frustrating component for me was just being dismissed despite having even physical symptoms that should have been treated. So going to an emergency room with blood pressure that is stroke level is something that shouldn't be dismissed as anxiety multiple times by multiple emergency rooms. You know, I was always told, like, you're not having a real emergency, and that puts you in a not so good headspace. And you go home, you still feel the way you feel, but now you also feel crazy. So I would say that even if there aren't physical symptoms showing, if somebody's telling you that they're having an experience, and this should just go for any human, not even just a medical practitioner, but especially a medical practitioner, like, you should be considerate and you should listen to what they're saying. And I believe that if you're in a position of healthcare and you're not capable of that, I don't know if you're in the right place. It is an invisible disease, and even though it doesn't always show up invisibly, sometimes it does show up in your labs, or sometimes it does show up in the way you're feeling in your body. You're really, at the end of the day, the best person to make sure that you're getting the care that you need. And it's unfortunate because we feel like the caregivers and the people in the hospitals are the ones that should be taking it on and carrying it. But at the end of the day, that's unfortunately an unrealistic expectation. And I think that if you just own the experience and keep advocating for yourself, hopefully you'll get to where you need to go. But the only way that's gonna happen is if you just keep pushing and you keep trying new people and you get through the frustrating parts and just make sure that you're not being medically gaslit. I would love to understand more about why it happens and how it happens, and maybe even down the road more treatment options to prevent people from having to get to the point of dialysis and transplant and just trying to preserve the life of the kidney for as long as possible. It would be incredible to understand the root cause, especially because it's just something that's rare, it's not well studied, and everyone who has it is just told, well, it just kind of happened one day. And I don't know, as humans, I think we always want to know the answers to why and understand the deeper reasons behind things. A medication that would be directly impacting the protein when it comes to IgAN would be extremely transformative to the patients that have it, because that is something that a lot of us struggle with, is protein spillage and the negative effects that that has on the body. So to know that there could be something out there that would potentially specifically target that would be great, because the medications that are being given to IgAN patients are typically ones that are meant for other diseases besides IgAN. I would just say that if you have IgAN, don't think of it as, like, I don't know, this sounds kind of dark, but don't think of it as a death sentence. It's not something where I think that people who have it should be living in this headspace of anxiety. I think that it's important to just keep a positive outlook as best as you can. I know that sounds maybe silly coming from me, because my experience, I know that there's people with more severe experiences than mine, but I think that the best thing that you could do is to just stay positive and make sure that you have practitioners that you trust, and just stay informed of the research that's out there.